The first time a friend of mine recommended The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin to me, I was skeptical. She claimed that this book helped her understand her husband better and improve their relationship. Even though I had no reason not to believe her, after all, they have been married for a very long time and they seem to have an amazing relationship, but I still wasn't convinced. Since Gretchen's other book had such a great impact on me, I decided to give it a shot, and I not only understand my husband better now, but also myself and the people around me. Thanks to this book, thousands of people all around the world learned how to become more empathetic and less annoyed when other people didn't act the way they wanted. They were able to use their time more productively, make better decisions, suffer less stress, and get healthier simply by understanding their tendencies and others around them. So without further ado, here are the 4 tendencies: upholder, questionnaire, obliger, and rebel. These tendencies are based on the premises that we respond to expectations differently. Gretchen identifies 2 types of expectations. Outer, that is, when you have a deadline at work or school, a test or other requirements from someone else. And inner, that is, when you make New Year's resolutions or decide to build a new habit or break a bad one. The 4 tendencies are different in the way they respond to these expectations. If you're an upholder, for example, you meet both outer and inner expectations. So if you are an upholder and you have a deadline at work, you will still make time for going to the gym if that's important to you. On the other hand, if you're a questionnaire, you will resist outer expectations but meet inner expectations. So let's say you have the same deadline. If you think it makes sense, you will meet the deadline. But if you think, for example, that it doesn't make any sense because your work won't be reviewed until next month anyways, then you won't. But what if you are an obliger, for example? Well, then it's the opposite. You will meet outer expectations, but you will struggle to meet inner expectations. So if you have the same deadline, you can forget about the gym. Completing the project when others rely on you is much more important to you than keeping your commitment to the gym. And finally, what happens if you're a rebel? Well, rebels resist outer and inner expectations alike. So the only person who knows what you would do is yourself. So no idea what you will do about the deadline or the gym. So what does this tell us? That each tendency has their unique strengths and weaknesses. That makes working with people so much more interesting. It might be challenging at times, but without it, we wouldn't question anything. We wouldn't be exposed to new ideas, and so on. If you're an upholder, your strengths are that you are self-directed. You love deadlines and managing tasks, and you're also very good with commitments. If you are an upholder, you thrive in environments where there are clear rules. On the other hand, there are also some weaknesses to your tendency. You might seem too rigid and inflexible to other people because you're always almost sticking to the rules and you hate last-minute changes. Others might also see you as disapproving or judgmental because you expect others to love rules just as much as you do. But what if you're a questionnaire? Well, your strength would be that you are data-driven, evidence-based, and fair-minded. You put great value on research and information. In addition, you also love to find loopholes anywhere you go. But your tendency comes also with some weaknesses. For example, it might be tiresome to others that you constantly question everything. You always need a reason why you're doing a certain thing. You also have a higher risk of falling into analysis paralysis, which means that you need all the information that is sometimes not available to you, which might result in inaction. You might even break good habits through logic. And lastly, with your drive to find the best solutions and information out there, you might resist even expert advice, which can be both an advantage and a disadvantage depending on the situation. Obligers. If you are an obliger, you are very reliable, responsible, and easy to get along with. You have many strengths, but also some weaknesses. For example, you might not be able to follow through for yourself, which can be annoying to you or to other people around you who want the best for you. You also have a higher risk of overworking to please others, which can lead to burnout, or as Gretchen calls it, obliger rebellion. That is, when sometimes obligers have so much on their plate that they decide not to do anything. When this happens, you resist your own tendency by not fulfilling any other expectations for a while. And now the rebel. If you are a rebel, some of your strengths are that you can easily resist addiction if someone challenges you to do so. You're also a very independent person and think outside of the box. You probably love bending the rules as well, and you are often seen as authentic by other people. As every tendency, however, rebels also have their own weaknesses. For example, you can be seen as uncooperative, inconsiderate, or even restless, and you might have difficulties dealing with monotone or mundane tasks. The biggest lesson for me was that I finally saw my husband's and my own weaknesses in a new light. I'm an upholder, and knowing that my husband is a questionnaire explained our dynamic perfectly. For example, why I love to-do lists, while it doesn't seem to work for my husband the same way. Even though his tendency is sometimes challenging, since he always has to do an extensive research, without it, I never would have questioned what I want to do with my life, what is truly important to me. It's a curse and a blessing at the same time. It also explained to me why it's so easy for him to stick to our values when it comes to following a ketogenic diet, even under social pressure, when I struggle much more to be true to myself in those situations. I'd like to believe that he also benefited from my upholder tendencies by getting more organized and sticking to good habits. All of this wouldn't have been possible if we would all have the same tendencies. So after figuring out yours, embrace it. Learn how to leverage your tendency, but keep in mind that people in one tendency can be very different from one another. This is because each tendency interlocks with two other tendencies, and a person in a particular tendency often tips in the direction of one of the overlapping tendencies. In the book, Gretchen also explains the overlapping tendencies. For example, I'm not a pure upholder, but an upholder obliger. That means that if there is a conflict between inner and outer expectation, then I might prioritize others' expectations over my own. For example, when others expect me to try something that's higher in carbs. The book also has a whole chapter on relationships between tendencies like Angel's and mine. I hope this video was useful to you. If you would like to figure out your own tendency but you're not sure, Gretchen has a quick quiz on her website that might help. But reading the book is even better as it gives you a lot of real-life examples from readers of different tendencies who explain why they do certain things that's unique to their tendency. So if you are interested, check out the book in the description. My name is Sophie, and thank you for watching this video. Hopefully see you next time. Bye!